Hello, I'm Reverend Ruth Van Lillian. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast. We are a covenantal community founded on loving kindness and a common devotion to our free faith. We recognize all the earth as sacred ground, and we welcome each other into this virtual space. We especially welcome those visiting with us today. We are so glad you're here. We invite you to check out our website and our Facebook page to learn more about us. We hope to touch hearts, teach minds, challenge spirits, and comfort souls. May you find refreshment and restoration in our service today.
A Chalice Lighting by Tim Haley. We know we are on our pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves, here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely.
Hello, it's time for a story again. Bad things happen to all of us. Sometimes they're a little bad, sometimes they're really, really bad, and we have to decide how we're going to handle it. This story, Big Moon Tortilla, gives us some choices that we can make. By the time Marta Enos had finished her homework, the sky was orange with sunset, and a fussing wind was blowing across the desert. There she is. Doesn't look much like Florida, does it? Marta Enos opened her window and looked outside. In the cookhouse, grandmother was making tortillas for the church supper. She slapped them onto large circles and tossed them onto the iron plate over the mesquite fire. Grandmother's Big Moon tortillas were the best in the world. They've got an outdoor oven for making their tortillas. The head of Marta Enos was filled with the knowing of fresh tortillas. Oh, that sweet, crisp, little bit burnt smell. It went to her stomach, which rumbled and growled, and then down to her toes, making them twitch toward the cookhouse. But the legs of Marta Enos could not wait in such another minute. They were in such a hurry to run to the cookhouse, they knocked over her table, and that is when a disaster happened. The homework papers with their neat drawings and beautiful writing went out the window and onto the breath of the fussing wind. The wind huffed the papers high into the air and with a little cough, spread them over the entire village. The legs of Marta Enos were sorry for their mistake, and they ran out to chase the homework papers, which slipped and slid like kites without string. The dogs are chasing them too. And the dogs, you know what they do when they catch the papers. Ah, a game, a game. In no time at all, the beautiful homework papers were torn and chewed into trash. The second disaster happened when Marta tried to pull a page away from a puppy. Can you guess what it is? Look at her glasses. Her glasses fell off and she stepped on them. One arm of her glasses broke in half. She did not smell tortillas anymore. Her head was filled up to her eyes with grief and tears as hot as chili peppers. Ruined homework, broken glasses. Marta Enos ran to grandmother. Grandmother left her tortillas and sat down. There she is. Oh, she's so upset. She sat down as big as a bed and warm from the cooking. As she smoothed Marta's hair with her floured hands, she said, "Hush, hush. If you cry so much, you'll put out the fire." "But dogs ate my homework, and I can't see to do any more," Marta Enos sobbed. Grandmother rocked her. "Little problems," she said, "too small for a big rainstorm. We'll repair your eyeglasses." But the tears of Marta Enos still ran through her eyes and nose and made hiccups in her throat. So grandmother sang to her an old healing song, and with the healing song, there was a story. When we have a problem, we must choose what we will be. Sometimes it is good to be a tree, to stand up tall in the desert and look all ways at once. Sometimes it is best to be a rock, to sit very still, seeing nothing and saying nothing. Sometimes when you have a problem, you have to be a strong mountain lion, fierce and ready to fight for what is right. Sometimes the wisest thing is to be an eagle and fly. When the eagle is high up, it sees how small the earth is. It sees how small the problem is, and it laughs and laughs. Grandmother wound some tape around the arm of the glasses. She put them back on the nose and ears of Marta Enos. "That should be okay until we get them fixed," she said. "Now, one tortilla before supper?" Grandmother pinched a ball of dough and slapped it between her hands. Flip, flap, flip, flap, flip, flap. When it was big and pale as a rising full moon, she dropped it onto the iron plate above the red-hot coals of the fire. Ah, the smell as their tortilla bubbled and browned. "I have decided," said Marta Enos, her legs doing a tortilla dance. "I am going to be the eagle." Grandmother nodded. "That is very wise," she said, turning the tortilla over. "Fly high and laugh, and then come back and do your homework." And that's the end of the story. There's a little note from the author at the back. It says this advice from grandmother actually comes from an old Native American saying, which varies a little bit from tribe to tribe in the Southwest. Like Marta Enos, perhaps you will remember grandmother's advice the next time you have a problem. Are you going to be like the eagle and look down and see, oh, maybe it's just not that big a deal. It wasn't such a big problem after all. I can let it go. Or are you going to be the tree standing tall and looking all around? Maybe there is danger and you need to look for anything that's coming or look for solutions. Maybe you're going to be like the mountain lion. Is someone getting hurt? Does someone need help? Do you need to be fierce and strong and take care of things? It's up to you to decide. It seemed like there was one other choice. What was it we had? Oh, the rock. Very still, seeing nothing and saying nothing. Sometimes the problem is just none of our business. Maybe it's between other people and they can handle it and we can just let it go. So look at your problem. Decide what you need to do. Do you need to stand tall and find information? Do you need to just let it go? Do you need to be fierce and strong and take charge? Or is it something so little that you could just go on about your life, look at it, and laugh like the eagle? Good luck solving your problems. Thanks for listening.
Friends, as we consider the joys and the concerns of the members and friends of our congregation, let us spend a moment in silence together, and I'll close us with a few words. All of us face inconveniences and minor crises on a regular basis, and sooner or later we are all confronted with life-altering catastrophes. Whatever problems you are dealing with today, minor or overwhelming, remember that we are part of a loving, supportive community. And we are here for one another. Love is stronger than all other forces, and therein lies our hope for today and every day. Take courage, friends. The way is hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage. For deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are financially supported by the voluntary generosity of members and friends. We all contribute to sustain the work of our beloved community. There are many ways to contribute. Of course, your presence is the most valued. Some of us are able to contribute time and talents, and most are also able to contribute financially. It's easy to do. During this time of virtual services, you can make your donation right on our website, UUFEC.com. Scroll down and click the new yellow donate button under the photo. It will take you to a donation page with a drop-down box. Choose whether you're making a general donation to the fellowship, donating to Share the Plate, or paying your pledge. Share the Plate funds are split between our fellowship and a local charity. For all of October, Share the Plate funds will be split with Sharing and Caring of Niceville, which helps meet the emergency needs of families. Of course, both members and friends, old and new, may also choose to send a check to UUFEC at the address on the slide. Please help us sustain our fellowship during this time of separation and need. In the words of Kristen Collins, we give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with a faith that together we have enough. Thank you for your generosity.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Days are breaking in my soul. A few years ago, day was actually breaking in through a hole in my kitchen ceiling. A big tree had fallen on my house and a branch punched a hole through the roof and down into my kitchen. Bill and I were yanked out of sleep to rush in, set out buckets, mop water, clean up broken dishes, which had fallen out of the cabinets, half hanging off the wall. At one point, my smart aleck husband looked at the rain dripping through, winked at me, and said, "Good place for a skylight?" Well, my answer was, and still is, no. But the question came back whenever I walked in the kitchen and glanced up at the blue glow of tarp through the hole in my kitchen ceiling, my unwanted skylight. His question, spoken in jest, was not actually about holes or skylights. Of course, it was about sudden, unexpected challenges or problems and how we respond to them. Is this a disaster to be endured, or might there be an opportunity lurking somewhere nearby? I'm talking about finding something useful in the inconveniences and minor catastrophes of life. When my briefly unsupervised little brother climbed out of his car seat and grabbed the gear shift for leverage, and the car rolled backward down the hill and right into a tree, and the whole back end was caved in, and Michael was not hurt, my mother grabbed the chance to buy herself a new car with a stick shift, which she had been missing for a long time. She was still driving a stick in her late 70s. She would hobble out to the car, fold up her walker, put it in the back seat, and steer her stick shift to all the nearby drive-thrus, the bank, the pharmacy, Burger King. She was indomitable, my mother. She had a gift for finding the opportunity in the misfortune. The Dalai Lama quotes a Tibetan saying, "Tragedy should be utilized as a source of strength." He continues, no matter what sort of difficulties, how painful experience is, if we lose our hope, that is our real disaster. Is it really true of every loss, every crisis, every catastrophe to ask the victim of a violent assault to look on the bright side? Would be insulting, to say the least. To tell a bereaved person that there's a silver lining in the loss of a beloved family member would be callous. To talk about future benefits of national crises or massive disasters would be absurd. So how do we talk about hope in the midst of despair and suffering without sounding trite and cruelly ridiculous? Bright morning stars are rising. I met Jack and June through some church folk. They volunteered to help my younger son's therapy program, and they came faithfully to our home week after week for a couple of years. As I got to know them, they shared with me the terrible loss they were living with, the killing of their younger adult daughter during a home invasion and robbery gone wrong. Can people truly recover from an event like this? We hear so many stories of violence and horror, both nearby and far away. These tales go back to the beginning of human history and continue to happen every day. How do we cope? How do we survive? How do we go on? Bright morning stars are rising. Just a little while ago, I was out at the rally for the Women's March for Reproductive Rights, and it brought a lot of things to mind and heart. The recent passage of laws in Texas, perhaps soon in this state and across the country, to further restrict or outlaw altogether the accessibility to pregnancy termination as a part of women's health care services, has made me ponder the questions of holes and skylights, of disaster and hope. I believe abortion is always a tragedy, but it is a very complex one. The pro-life perspective seems to be that from conception, the human life in the womb is precious and worthy of protection. And that sounds a lot like the first UU principle, which espouses the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The pro-choice perspective seems to be that women's lives are precious, and if a woman chooses to have an abortion to protect her precious life in any way, medically safe, legal abortion should be available to her. That also sounds like our first principle, and the second one too, about justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. So it seems to me that both sides want to protect human life. What makes this so hard is that the nature of pregnancy is an indivisible entanglement of two human lives. The determination of when a fetus becomes a human being has always seemed to be an illusory side argument which serves to distract from the painful primary question. In cases where a pregnant human being wants or is advised to seek an abortion of the human fetus growing in the uterus, which life is more valuable? In UU terms, which life has the greater inherent worth and dignity? Which life is more deserving of justice, equity, and compassion? And who gets to play the role of divine right and decide about life and death? The treatment of any human being as either disposable or enslaved is abhorrent to me. I want to scream, to weep, to throw up. I see the circumstances of all unwanted or life-threatening pregnancies as tragic. And I see the abortion of pregnancies as tragic. I'm also completely convinced that making medically safe, accessible, affordable abortion services illegal will only magnify and multiply the tragedy. In other words, making abortion illegal or inaccessible only makes the problem worse. It does nothing to protect the inherent worth and dignity of the woman or of the human life growing unwelcome inside her body. As a minister, I have held the hands of women who have aborted malformed fetuses and wanted more than anything to hold a healthy child in their arms. I have wept with women who felt that abortion was the least tragic option, but felt keenly the loss of the child that might have been. I have listened both to women who regretted having an abortion and to those who felt absolutely confident that the decision was the right one. I have never heard a woman say that it was an easy or painless choice. It might surprise some of us to know that not all Unitarian Universalists think alike on this matter. We probably do not all agree in this congregation on every point of this complex issue. In an honest, calm, respectful dialogue, we would discover that we don't all see and feel things the same way. It's so messy and painful. A close examination of the complexities of the debate strikes at the heart of who we are and what we believe. Indeed, to worry about holes in the ceiling as unwanted skylights looks frivolous. We UUs must follow our beliefs and our consciences as we navigate these treacherous waters and so many others. The value of human life is called into question daily in myriad scenarios such as homelessness, police shootings, the opioid epidemic, and so many others. Finding and holding on to hope becomes increasingly vital as we open our eyes to see the complex realities of life, of history, of possible future disasters. How can we place one foot in front of the other if we do not have hope that there is also love and joy before us? We can devote every waking moment to the work of justice and still look up to see that we have barely scratched the surface of human need. If we cannot find cause for hope, we are in danger of giving up in discouragement and despair. There is a quotation that has been circulating really since the end of World War II. I recently read a colleague's research on it, the many variations and misquotations, the exaggerated and fictionalized stories. According to Everett Howe, the earliest recorded source of the quotation is a German POW in England who claimed to have heard that in a shelter in Cologne, where young Catholics were keeping Jews in hiding to protect them, American soldiers found the following inscription written on a wall: "I believe in the sun, even when it is not shining. I believe in God, even when He is silent. I believe in love, even when it is not apparent." Of course, we cannot imagine a time and place when hope and determined belief were more important. The poignancy of these words and their power to stir our hearts cannot be overstated. A hole in the ceiling of the kitchen of a well-insured middle-class U.S. citizen homeowner is an inconvenience. A minor disruption in a life of privilege. What on earth was I ever whining about? Most of us probably have the internal fortitude to find the opportunity in the minor mishap and move quickly from discouragement to a positive outlook after an unexpected challenge appeared on our doorstep. What do we do when real crisis visits our house or that of someone we are close to? How do we proceed in the face of cancer, suicide, unwanted pregnancy, murder, financial devastation, severe car accident, deadly COVID infection? The list is long and terrifying. We all of us use trickery to get out of bed and go about our day. We pretend that crisis will not find us in the safety of our homes or neighborhoods or towns. Disaster is what happens to other people, but not to us. This will be a good day, we tell ourselves as we get into our potentially deadly cars and drive to school and work. When the other car comes out of nowhere and we wake up in the ER, what do we do now? Bright morning stars are rising. We can seek hope and joy in the small and the ordinary. We can find reminders that no matter the depth of the darkness, the earth continues to turn and the sun will shine again. We can seek, create, and remember beauty which nourishes and refreshes the spirit. We can find strength and encouragement in loving community, trusting that they will stand by us no matter how trying life is. Human beings are at once frail and resilient, frightened and fearless, despairing and hopeful. Our friends, June and Jack, took their grief over their daughter's death and turned it into hopeful purpose. She had been deeply committed to protecting the environment, and June and Jack spent their remaining years fighting for their daughter's cause, giving their physical strength and their resources to projects for saving the earth. They took the worst loss a parent can endure and transformed it into years of hope and renewal. Wayne Arneson, a highly respected Unitarian Universalist, writes, "Take courage, friends. The way is hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone." And so we are not. There is hope and love all around us and purpose aplenty to keep us moving every day. Want to hear a true story with a happy, hopeful ending so far? There was an infant abandoned in the last year of the war in Vietnam. He was taken to an orphanage and then matched with a middle-aged couple in Birmingham, Alabama. A week before Saigon fell, he was put on a plane full of children and flown to the U.S., where he was placed in the arms of his new big sister, while his proud new daddy and new mommy looked on. He grew up loved and cared for, and became a one-eyed champion tennis player, and then a tennis coach. And today, he has a pretty good life, doing what he loves in his middle years. And my brother Michael and I are still close, and he hardly ever rolls cars into trees anymore. Days are breaking in my soul. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
A Chalice Closing by Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Siblings and kindred, may day break in your soul. May you be filled with courage and hope for today, for tomorrow. There is nothing in the universe as strong as the love which binds us together. Go in peace.